Hi, everyone. It's Kamala Harris. Each day, we are seeing our rights and freedoms under attack, including the right of everyone to be who they are, love who they love, openly and with pride. So as we fight back against these attacks, let's all remember, no one is alone. We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
That's something you're not going to see Donald Trump doing. That was Vice President Harris showing her support for LGBTQ Americans on a recent episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. Throughout her political career, the Vice President has been an advocate for the rights of queer Americans, both as a candidate and in office. She proved that yet again with her pick of Governor Tim Walz as a running mate. The Washington Post tells it this way, quote, long before he entered politics, Tim Walz spent years teaching at a high school in southern Minnesota. He was a memorable figure inside and outside the classroom, a beloved educator who helped coach the football team to a state title. But for a small group of students, he was something even rarer. Those students knew Walz as a person who would stand up for others no matter their sexual orientation, even when they faced hostility elsewhere. A quarter century ago, such acceptance and understanding were far from common. Walz and his wife, Gwen, offered that unequivocally, end quote. Walz went on to help the students create the school's first gay-straight alliance in 1999. When Vice President Harris asked Governor Walz to join her ticket, the move was celebrated by the nation's LGBTQ rights groups. From the Human Rights Campaign, quote, her pick of Governor Walz sends a message that a Harris-Walz administration will be committed to advancing equality and justice for all, end quote. From GLAAD, quote, Vice President Harris' choice of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz underscores a long-standing commitment to the equality, prosperity, and safety of all Americans, including and especially for LGBTQ people, end quote. It's important to remember what this kind of hopeful campaign means to LGBTQ Americans. In recent years, Republicans have worked to ban where drag queens can read books to kids while banning some of the books before they would even could be read. Republicans have banned gender-affirming health care in several states. And don't forget, when the Supreme Court's conservative majority ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade, in a concurring opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas signaled that he was open to reconsidering other rulings, including Obergefell v. Hodges, which legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. We live in a country where where the Republican ticket running for the White House has, in the Project 2025 agenda, plans to undermine same-sex married couples, dismantle services for LGBTQ Americans, and flat out deny the existence of transgender people. Just literally pretend they don't exist. Certainly not making any psychological or medical facilities available to them. On the other side of the aisle, you've got a sitting president who came out in support of same-sex marriage before Barack Obama did, and a Harris-Walz ticket that promises to continue pushing the nation in that same direction. The hope that that is creating is palpable. A few days ago, our next guest, the renowned drag queen Ben de la Creme, posted a photo of the Democratic ticket with these words, quote, yesterday, I drove past a huge American flag flapping in the wind. I was surprised when I felt tears in my eyes, tears of relief. It was the first time in a long time I didn't feel alienated by that image. I felt real hope and real pride. This team has provided that feeling. Please register to vote. I think we have a real fighting chance, end quote. Dela is one of the founding queens of Drag PAC, the first political action committee led by famous drag queens.
How did it start?
Well, I think everyone is a little disheartened with a lot of our elected leadership, and frankly, our community is being assaulted and it's escalating to violence.
There is just so much anti-drag, anti-trans legislation coming from these lawmakers, and these are people who know nothing about us.
We're just sick of being lied to.
We're in the middle of something historic, okay? This is the most important election cycle for queer people's rights and freedoms in our lifetime.
And we represent our community. We're visible queer people out in the world in the crosshairs.
I think it's time we remind people who we are.
Joining us now is the Drag PAC co-founder, award-winning drag queen, writer, director, and producer, Ben de la Creme. Thank you for being with us, Dela. Before I get to the hope and the pride and the conversation you had about the flag, which I think is fascinating for many Americans, I want to talk about something that came up in that video, and that is the violence that trans people and LGBTQ Americans face, but particularly trans women. It's exponentially more dangerous to be a trans woman in America than to be anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering. It's really, we hear about so many deaths within the trans community, specifically the majority in the community of trans women out there. And, I don't think people all necessarily understand the link of shame, the link of the prevalent rhetoric that we hear all the time, and this violence and how it directly trickles down. People aren't just born transphobic. They aren't born willing to commit this. They are taught that this threat exists. There is messaging from the right that they're in danger and their children are in danger. And that is not necessarily how most people in our community actually feel. It's this messaging that makes people think, oh, the majority feels this way, and therefore I should go along with it. But overwhelmingly, when you talk to Americans, you find that they are actually in favor of queer rights.
Dela, to watch the presidential candidate on RuPaul's Drag Race in that kind of environment, it is, we don't want to take it for granted. That's not necessarily a thing, and it's definitely not a thing. I mean, I don't know whether we're ever going to see Donald Trump do something like that, but we have to be clear. If you are LGBTQ, if you're queer, if you're a drag queen, if you're a trans person in America, you got to make some important choices this time around.
Oh yeah, I have to say that when you were doing that whole intro, I'm getting goosebumps, and I have been since this community has been activated. There has been so much invigoration since the announcement of Harris, since the announcement of Walz, and it's really exciting. I had a real sense of doom about the fact that young voters and queer voters were not feeling represented enough to be incredibly involved. And now there is this palpable sense of hope. We are coming from a place of joy, which is what many things in the queer community are about. It's certainly what drag is about. And we have this positive messaging to go towards instead of just something to run away from.
Published an article a few months ago about this issue that Project 2025, in and amongst its 922 pages of garbage, is talking about criminalizing transgender identity by categorizing it as pornography, which then falls under the Comstock Act, and you can't communicate it, you can't do things like it. Literally criminalizing it, not sort of even pushing it to the fringes, where in some cases it exists. It's criminalizing it. And that should be quite motivating to people who understandably might not have felt like they're in the center of the political conversation and that voting's not for them and it doesn't matter what happens because society is going to stay the way it is. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the actual violence that is looming, it's terrifying. I think that it has frozen a lot of people for quite a lot of years. And I really do hope that people see that we are potentially on the precipice of something that is, I think, larger than we want to acknowledge in terms of how our community could be endangered, or what exactly start happening to these folks. And it's hard to even articulate because it is so dark. Yeah. And but it could go both ways, and that's your point, right? It could be a dark future, or it could be a very hopeful future.
And that is the thing, is the hope that has been ignited. The fear was so much of what was driving us before. And it's hard to activate when you are bogged down by that darkness. We really have something to band together on. Yeah. And that's so much of what the queer community has done throughout the decades. And I think it's really important, especially that young people in the queer community understand that we did not have the rights that we have enjoyed in recent years, in very recent decades. And it was queer rebellion, folks getting together, organizing, becoming politically active, and realizing that their numbers actually could make change. And so I hope that we are able to look back into our history and our very recent history and learn from that, and have it motivate us to really know that our voice matters.
Your voice matters. Ben Delacreme, it is great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Wonderful to talk to you. Thank you.